And so at last, on the shores of my YouTube channel, comes the end of our fellowship. Well, for this season at least. Once more with feeling. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the incredible folks at Nerd Tees, and welcome to Grey Cup 107, the Grey Cup 107 prediction video for the 2019 CFL regular season and postseason. We've come to the final video of the CFL year. And while I did kind of turn things around last week a little bit, which was nice, still going to unfortunately be in a position where no matter how we do on Grey Cup 107, we'll be finishing the playoffs under 500 in total, which is really, really unfortunate. Straight up, I was 1-1 last week. Means I'm only 1-3 for the playoffs, only 25%. That is nowhere near good enough. Against the spread, if there's a silver lining to be found, I am 3-1 against the spread now for the playoffs after going 2-0 in the division final week last week. So that's good news, 75%. We're happy with that. But I've missed every single total so far in these playoffs. I am 0-4. Completely did not have a handle on the way the totals would go in these playoffs. Don't really have any other excuse for it either. I just didn't have a handle on it. 3-3 last week has me 4-8 for the playoffs as a whole. So again, I could sweep the Grey Cup 107 pick, which is what we're looking to do, by the way. But even if I did, I'd still only be 7-8 for the playoffs. Right now, I am 148 and 106 with one push so far on the season across every single CFL pick that I have given you this season. That is a clip of 58.04%. Now, what I can do, I believe if I win straight up and win against the spread, I believe I will hit the 70% and 60% goals for the season that I had for straight up and against the spread picks, respectively. Pause for 2 seconds. I'm going to do that math. In the immortal words of Get Smart, missed it by that much. Even if I do get the game straight up in Grey Cup 107, I'll still only be 69% straight up on the season. But right now I'm 60% against the spread. We got to do our job against the spread this week, and we'll keep that 60%, and that'll be something to build off of heading into next season. I did manage to pull myself up from 45th to 37th out of the 75 people in the official Atlantic Schooners CFL Fantasy Football League for the playoffs. That's something. But what is really something is the Grey Cup matchup that we have ahead of us. The Hamilton Tiger Cats as champions of the East Division, taking on the West Division champion Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who, if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, probably would have been a very solid number 3 on my list in terms of teams that I thought would win the West Division. But man, Zach Collaros and that team, they've been getting it done. So let's preview it. The Hamilton Tiger Cats come into this football game 16-3 on the season after their 36-16 victory at home against the Edmonton Eskimos in the East Division final last week. Obviously, they are on a big winning streak coming into this week. You have to be to make it this far. But the Ticats have won 7 consecutive football games, have not tasted defeat in nearly 2 months. In their last 4, obviously, they've won all 4 of them. They're outscoring opponents by an average of 32-18. That means both sides of the football, the offense and the defense, are just humming along here for the Ticats. It almost feels like nothing could go wrong. Wink, wink. The Blue Bombers got here the hard way just a few weeks ago. This was a 10-7 football team, and their prospects for winning the West Division up against the Calgarys and the Saskatchewans of the world really weren't looking that great. But this is a Blue Bombers team that has reeled off 3 consecutive victories, including the 2 that mattered the most against the biggest competition. That included their 20-13 victory in Saskatchewan last week, getting the Roughriders monkey off their back, I guess you could say. Although, I mean, they did beat them once in the regular season. But still, that was a game that I full well expected the Riders were going to win. They did not do that. I'm glad I hedged my bets and went Winnipeg against the spread. But the Blue Bombers got it done, and they got it done by a full possession. It was no fluke that they won that game. The head-to-head matchup this season was controlled by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 2 head-to-head matchups, one taking place in Week 7. That was an 8-point victory by Hamilton in Hamilton, a low-scoring game, 23-15. They would meet again 9 weeks later in Week 16, this time in Winnipeg. Hamilton cruising to a 3-possession victory, 20 full points, 33-13. Now, even though one team, I believe it is Winnipeg, will technically have home field advantage in this game, this is a neutral site football game taking place in McMahon Stadium in Calgary. So I thought it pertinent to not really look at how either of these teams did at home this season and really only focus on how they did away from their own building. Because, I mean, look, let's be honest, it's a road game for both. Hamilton, away from home this year, they got the job done on the record books, 6-3. So look, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You win 2 out of every 3 road games, you're doing something right. Outscoring opponents by a full 9 points, 29-20. But it is worth noting they had no significant road wins up until Week 15, where I believe they beat Montreal in Montreal, perhaps it was, or maybe that was the week that they beat Edmonton. They really had no road wins of significance until very late in the season. However, the Ticats have reeled off 3 straight wins away from home. So again, that football team just playing excellent football when it matters most. Which you can say much the same for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, because despite the fact that they're only 5-6 away from home this season and only outscoring opponents by an average of 2 points, 26-24 in those road games, these back-to-back road wins that they've had in the playoffs, because they didn't have home field advantage. They had to go into Calgary and beat the Stamps. They had to go into Saskatchewan and beat the Riders. Those 2 back-to-back road wins in the playoffs, to me, equals way more than what their regular season road record was. You get into the playoffs and you can win on the road in the playoffs, anything can happen. And obviously, in talking about this game, you want to talk about how the Hamilton Ticats fared against West Division opponents, which is what they're playing this week, and conversely, how Winnipeg fared against the East. Hamilton handled the West Division this season, 9-2 in 11 matchups against the West Division, outscoring opponents in those games by a score of 28-19. So allowing less than 20 points a game, that defense cooked against the West Division this year. That included wins over Saskatchewan, Calgary, a win over this Winnipeg team. 2 wins over this Winnipeg team, which we talked about before, and 3 victories over the Edmonton Eskimos. Winnipeg didn't fare quite as well against the East Division. They were only 4-4 in their games against teams from the East. Now, they did outscore opponents 29-23 in those 8 games. Still was only even money on the records. And part of the reason that score variation is what it is because, I mean, look, they played weak East Division teams. Obviously, there's only 4 teams in there. You played them 8 times. They only beat 1 playoff team, and that was the Montreal Alouettes. Look, Winnipeg didn't beat Hamilton this year. They lost twice to them. They beat Montreal once. That game was in Winnipeg. Montreal also beat Winnipeg in Montreal this past season, and Winnipeg also had an inexplicable 1-point loss around the midpoint of the season, 29-28 to the Toronto Argonauts. That is not a team in Winnipeg that should be losing to the Toronto Argos under any circumstances. So the only team of significance that Winnipeg beat out of the East this season was the Alouettes, and they had to be on home field to do it. And before I give you my picks for Grey Cup 107, I want to take this opportunity, as I always do, and as I will be for the last time this CFL season, to pump the tires of my great friends at Nerd Tees, longtime sponsor of mine. I've been talking about them for as long as I've been doing this show. nerdtees.ca. Use my promo code, which is BWFinest, and that is going to save you 15% at checkout. You're also going to get free shipping in Canada on any order over $75. If you're in the US, 2 clicks of a button and everything is going to be in US dollars for you, and you get an excellent conversion rate on the US dollar. Today's blend, or should I say tonight's blend, I guess, because we're late in the evening, had some adulting things to do today, including getting my CPR certification. Tonight's blend is Kiwilicious. I've talked about it a few times on this show, I believe. Really, really, really nice aroma. Smells fantastic. Has a really good taste to it. Imagine it would be good hot or cold. Nerdtease.ca. Use my promo code BWFinest. Save yourself your 15%. Get your free shipping in Canada. Find yourself something to love, or find someone you love something to love just in time for Christmas. You can do it on nerdtease.ca. So, Grey Cup 107. Hamilton, Winnipeg, neutral field in Calgary. To me, this is the team of destiny, because that's what Hamilton has looked like all season long. Even in the games that they lost, this still felt like a team that was not going to lose back-to-back games, a team that was not going to be set back by any loss. They have felt very much like Calgary Stampeders teams of the past. This felt like a team of destiny right from the first week of the season, up against, again, especially for me, the ultimate underdogs. As far as I was concerned, this was the third best team in the West Division, and yet they beat the two teams that were ahead of them in order to get here. So ultimate underdogs, I would think so. And you can't really ask for much more out of a championship match. Ladies and gentlemen, by a final score of 27-21, your Grey Cup 107 champions will be, in my humble opinion, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. As far as I'm concerned, defense wins championships. And if I have to pick one of these two defenses as the season as a whole, or right now, I'm going to be picking the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I think that defense is special. I think they play special. I think they play up to significant opponents. That is what this game is going to be. I don't think the moment is too big for Dane Evans. You could have said that last week, and look what he did. He came through. He beat Trevor Harris and the Edmonton Eskimos. I don't think this moment is too big for anybody on that team. I think the Hamilton Ticats get it done. I don't like Simone Lawrence any more than you do, but I think they get it done, and I think they get themselves a Grey Cup championship. Matter of fact, I so don't think that the moment is too big for Dane Evans. He's my Grey Cup MVP. Hamilton quarterback, Dane Evans. I think what a story. You know, he takes over for Jeremiah Masoli. Masoli goes down with an injury. Everybody's like, oh my God, the Hamilton Ticats are Grey Cup favorites. Look at all these injuries. But the Ticats did not allow injuries to define their season. I said it in a video a couple weeks ago. They used those injuries to defy those injuries. And that's exactly what they did. I think Dane Evans winning the MVP would be just a perfect cherry on top of that story. And I do love me some good storytelling. Now, on the line, the Ticats are 3.5-point favorites. Obviously, that makes Winnipeg 3.5-point dogs. I kind of expected this number to be somewhere around a 4. Some people were maybe hoping to see it a little bit higher, but I mean, this Grey Cup matchup is very, very, very tight. So I'm more than happy to lay the 3.5 points on Hamilton, which is a relatively small price to pay for the team that I genuinely think is the better football team. But in saying that, this is kind of a coin flip, at least by the numbers. So far this season, Hamilton 6-0-1 against the spread as a favorite of under a touchdown. So that's a good number, right? You look on the other side, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 8-1 against the spread as an underdog of under a touchdown. So look, that's where this number sits. It sits at 3.5. It's a very awkward number. I am going to lay the points on the favorite, who I genuinely think win the football game. I completely understand if you want to hedge your bets. That would be me hedging my bets for a third straight week. But if you want to hedge your bets on this and take those 3.5 points, I totally understand it. This is a flip of a coin. Total in the game is set at 52 points, and as I mentioned, and you can do some pretty quick math there, 27 plus 21 is only 48. So I am sticking under 52 points on the Grey Cup 107 matchup. These two teams are only a combined 17-22 overall this season on the over-under, so only hit 17 overs in a combined 39 games. The two teams were combined 10-10 on the road and 10-10 in out-of-conference matchups. So that's not a real lean one way or the other. But what really kind of swayed me towards this was based on where this number is. It's a 52. On totals this season that fell anywhere between 48.5 and 55. So in that touchdown range where this number sits at 52, these two teams were only combined 11 and 17. So that's 6 full games under 500 on the totals. It's enough for me to lean on under on a relatively low 50. I don't think this game hits 50, so we're going to go under 52 points in Grey Cup 107. One more time, Hamilton wins Grey Cup 107, 27-21 over Winnipeg. Dane Evans wins your Grey Cup MVP. We are taking Hamilton minus the 3.5 points in a game that stays under 52. There you go, folks. You waited long enough today for it. There it is. The Grey Cup 107 pick. The Hamilton Tiger Cats win Grey Cup 107. Dane Evans is your MVP. Who do you have winning? Who do you like winning the MVP? How did you like this season? Did you love it? Did you not love it? Are you disappointed that I didn't really hit most of my goals from this season? Came so agonizingly close and just kind of fell apart in the playoffs. Anything you have to say about this season, comments, questions, queries, theories, all of that, put it in the comments section below. Let's have a great conversation to close off this CFL season. And in order for me to close off the CFL season, I have to sit here and I have to say thank you. I'm going to point you towards a Twitter thread that I put up last night where I talked about the growth of the CFL show on my channel from this year over last year. And the growth has been not insignificant. It has been about 20% in terms of viewership, 50 to 66% in terms of interaction. And that's, sure, it's me for making the content, but it's you. It's you for watching, it's you for contributing, it's you for conversing, it's you for sharing, it's you for giving a damn. I couldn't sit here and think, my God, what a success this season was. All of that growth, and I said this in my thread last night, all of that growth justifies all the work that goes into this, the prep that goes into it, the production, everything. It's all justified by what you folks bring to me, which is the only thing you could ever pay me with, which is your attention, which is giving a damn. And that means more to me than I can adequately describe. So all I can say is thank you. But you know what? If you're a big Bombers fan and you just want to go into the comments and tell me to screw myself for not picking your team, that works too. All that, throw that in the comment section below. That is it for me, folks, for the second CFL season on this channel. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the wonderful and incredible folks at Nerd Tees. We will see you again, for the rest of this NFL season, obviously. We will see you again for a punishment that I have upcoming based on my NFL picks and them not doing exactly what I wanted them to do. And we will see you again in the summer when we talk more CFL. And I legitimately can't wait. Thanks. And by the way, Andrew T-Bone has won the Grey Cup Challenge, and it wasn't even close. So T-Bone, way to go.